For a long time, we treated our solar system like a quiet cul-de-sac. Predictable orbits, harmless rocks, background noise. Then Oumuamua streaked through in 2017 and tore that comfort to shreds. It moved like nothing we'd seen. It accelerated without a visible push. It left more questions than answers. Now, a new visitor raises the stakes. Bigger, faster, sharper. It looks like a comet until it doesn't. It reflects like ice but radiates like a machine. It keeps slipping behind the sun at just the right time, as if it knows exactly where our eyes are. Astronomers call it Three-Eye Atlas. Some researchers call it something else. A construct, a watcher, a sentinel. Maybe not a rock at all, but something wearing a rock's clothing. The path is the first red flag. The heat is the second. The signals are the third. And the timing? That might be the part that changes everything. Because if it didn't stumble in by chance, then who pointed it here? And why now? Before we label it a comet or a craft, let's walk through the trail it's leaving behind. Because the way it moves isn't the only thing that doesn't add up. And what comes next might be the most unsettling part. It looked like a long-period comet, until the math refused. According to early reports tied to the Vera C. Rubin Observatory pipeline, a faint, fast smear crossed a star field and tripped the software that flags icy drifters. Nothing special at first glance. A classic far-out comet arcing in from the deep. But the numbers didn't sit still. Velocity estimates jumped past the comfort zone, over 130,000 miles per hour, well above what our sun can permanently hold. That alone nudged it into the Interstellar camp, an object from outside our neighborhood, on a one-way pass. Rare, but not impossible. We've seen that twice before. Then the path tightened. Simulations, shared quietly among a handful of analysts, showed a line not of chaos but of choreography. The route didn't meander through the inner system. It threaded it, past Earth, near Mars, skirting Jupiter. Then a dive toward the sun for a gravity assist, and deeper in still. Each turn aligned in a way that felt intentional, like a survey ship plotting checkpoints, not a frozen boulder surrendering to fate. The timing of its closest approach to Earth raised eyebrows higher. The projection placed that moment with the sun between us and the object, a perfect shield that would make ground-based tracking miserable. Convenient for staying off our radar, inconvenient for anyone trying to study it. Odds of a natural track doing that by accident? Some internal estimates put it south of 1 in 10,000. Not impossible, just uncomfortably precise. Small details piled on. The light curve hinted at a spin that didn't match typical comets. The flux rose and fell with a rhythm too tidy for a jagged snowball tumbling through sunlight. And its apparent brightness didn't track cleanly with the changing angles, as if smooth surfaces hid beneath the dust, glinting, then going quiet. Maybe it's all coincidence. Space does weird things. But coincidence rarely lines up with advantage. Not like this. Not across this many checkpoints. And if the path felt rehearsed, the story behind its heat felt scripted. Because when the infrared data arrived, it stopped sounding like a comet at all. But that wasn't the whole story. We've seen weird once. This time, it answers back. Oumuamua wasn't just odd. It was disruptive. It sped up without a visible engine. It gave off no typical comet outgassing that we could catch. Its shape looked elongated, maybe flattened. Some said a hydrogen iceberg could explain the thrust. Others pitched exotic ice, fractal dust, or sunlight pressure on a wafer-thin body. A few, like Harvard's Avi Loeb, argued for a crafted object, a light sail, a shard, a probe masked as natural. That idea stirred a fight in the halls of astronomy. No proof, just possibilities, and then it was gone. Atlas feels like the sequel Oumuamua warned us about, not because it shouts artifact, but because it whispers, "I've studied your sensors." It's larger by a wide margin. If brightness models are even close, it rotates at a pace that blurs temperature differences, making thermal readings harder to pin down. The flight plan seems to glide around zones where gravity gets messy, as if it prefers calm water to choppy seas. Reports even suggest it slows slightly near high radiation regions and then recovers speed after. behavior that sounds more like a machine protecting delicate systems than a rock shrugging off space weather. Surface readings at first glance look familiar: dark, carbon-rich, icy. But the composition-only story never holds for long, not here, because the heat it gives off doesn't map cleanly to how sunlight should warm and cool a natural object. Instead, the patterns look distributed, like something inside manages temperature, not just surface frost flashing to gas. And then there's the geometry. Scattered, tiny glints pop at angles that don't fit a lumpy nucleus. Smooth, flat reflections, brief but telling, as if plates or fins sit just under a thin, dusty veil. If Oumuamua was a riddle tossed over the fence, Atlas is a riddle that watches you solve it. And that's not a comfortable upgrade. We could still be wrong. Nature can be stranger than tech. But something else pushed this out of the fun-to-debate zone and into the keep-watching zone. Infrared, timed, repeating, structured. When Webb stared into the cold, the heat told a different story. And what came next made even the skeptics sit up. James Webb doesn't care how pretty something looks. It cares how it glows in the dark. In the long wavelengths where warmth lives, Atlas wasn't just a cold rock catching sunlight. It was a pattern generator. Faint, regular pulses showed up in the data, barely above the noise floor but too evenly spaced to shrug off. Not a steady beam, not randomness. A tick, a pause, a tick, a cadence you could set a metronome to. Layered over that was a different anomaly. Heat moving across the object in a way that didn't match simple spin. A natural body warms on the day side, cools on the night side, and shows telltale hotspot drift as it turns. Atlas didn't behave like that. Heat rose where it shouldn't, faded where it should have lingered, as if some internal system was shuffling energy around. Then the reflections. In between the broadband glow, Webb caught microflashes at fixed geometries, quick, clean specular events that suggested polished planes. Not many, not long, but enough to sketch a silhouette under the dust. Panels? Strakes? Ribs? Whatever they weren't chaotic. Trailing behind was the strangest thread of all, a faint thermal wake, a corridor of slightly warmer particles stepping down in even intervals. Too tidy for random outgassing, too consistent for fluke scatter, the kind of trail you'd expect if an energy system shed heat in quantized bursts, leaving breadcrumbs of warmth. The data didn't scream, machine, but it stopped whispering, comet. Inside NASA's planetary defense circles, the language reportedly shifted. Intentional, artificial, surveillance, words no one wanted in a memo attached to a so-called ice ball. Cautious scientists don't throw those around unless the evidence refuses to fold neatly into a natural explanation. Even then, they hedge. But in hushed threads and redacted attachments, the tone stiffened. None of this proves anything on its own. Patterns can trick us, instruments can misbehave, but stacked together, they point one way, not random. And heat wasn't the only system acting in a rhythm. Because signals don't just broadcast, they knock. And the reply Atlas gave made a few very large antennas look up. Deep space network antennas don't usually discover anything. They talk to what we launch. They listen for our Voyagers, our Mars orbiters, our lunar relays. But a brief, razor-thin pulse arrived from Atlas's direction, slipping right between scheduled handshakes. It wasn't a sweeping broadcast. It wasn't noise. It came in measured intervals. Clean spacing, tight timing, and a tone that looked uncomfortably like early terrestrial radar from the dawn of the space age. The signal didn't carry a message anyone could read. No modulation, no obvious encoding, just a metronomic knock that lined up with Atlas's position. Internal alerts went out. A handful of observatories were told to pivot. Publicly, officials chalked it up to interference. Privately, the description changed. A ping, repeated 3 times, then cut, as if to say, "Are you awake?" and then pull the plug before anyone could answer. If you've ever set up a new device and watched it scan the room, you know the feeling. This didn't look like a beacon. It felt like a systems check, a rangefinder, a depth test. Skeptics will say Earth is loud and radio glare does strange things. Fair. But the timing with Atlas's approach, The repetition count, the immediate hush that followed, those aren't coincidence so much as choreography. It reached out, it stopped, and it moved on. So if it's scanning, what exactly is it measuring? Our location? Our response time? Our nerve? Signals were the start. The light itself became the echo. The watcher? Or the mirror? Not just passing through, probing for response. Behind closed doors, a theory took root. Some call it the watcher, others prefer the mirror. The idea is simple and disturbing. Atlas isn't visiting the way comets visit. It's surveilling, a sentinel seated long ago, pre-programmed to drift through candidate systems, log what hums, and react when something hums back. The watcher version says it records. It listens to radio chatter, maps satellite traffic, and sweeps for losses of signal that reveal what we're trying to hide. The mirror version says it does something creepier. It reflects us. It takes what we've sent into the dark and sends a powered echo, tweaked and delayed, to prove it heard, and to see if we notice. Spectral analysis allegedly caught a modulation in Atlas's reflected light that didn't look random. Not bright enough to make headlines, but regular enough that a Fourier transform flagged a structure. When cross-referenced with archival deep space transmissions, the pattern lined up. Slightly altered, slightly delayed, as if the object had listened, learned the cadence, and rehearsed it back across the wavelengths we were most likely to watch. If true, it means Atlas isn't just showing us a surface. It's using light like a codebook, a photonic Morse. Not a shout, a whisper at the edge of perception, timed to our instrument's attention span. That notion opens a door we don't love, because a watcher doesn't need to talk if all it needs is a measurement. How quickly do we find it? How do we react? Who keeps secrets? Who panics? Who points radar? A probe can learn more by watching us than by saying a word. And while those debates churned, the object did something no iceball has the right to do. It changed its mind. Drifting turned into driving. The models were tight. The corridor between Earth and Sun would have kept Atlas in the blind spot for most ground-based scopes. Then the curve bent. Not by much. Enough. A nudge in velocity, the kind that doesn't come from sunlight or a lazy squirt of gas. A clean delta V, measured over hours, pointing to a new vector that now drags it closer to us than any interstellar traveler on record. Not a collision path, not a scare tactic. A controlled approach that shifts the geometry just enough for radar to get a grip and for our atmosphere to brush the tail end of whatever it's shedding. If that wake touches upper air, even barely, we'll see it. And that seems to be the point. The light curve misbehaved again. The flicker didn't match a simple spin rate. Brightness rose and fell as if plates yawed, not as if a lumpy nucleus turned. Around the main body, a faint halo thickened, particles orbiting in a thin, neat band, like debris captured by a field or material released in steps. Natural fragmentation is messy. This looked methodical, like a shield, or a staging ring, or an ablative skirt peeling away to expose whatever sits underneath. Engineers argued over outgassing. Maybe CO or CO2 jets fired in exactly the right places to mimic a controller's touch. That can happen. Once, twice, not repeatedly with this precision. The energy budget didn't love the outgassing story either. The numbers wanted an actuator, not a burp. The message, intended or not, was simple. This isn't drifting, it's navigating. Agencies noticed. Requests for fresh windows tightened. Public updates thinned. And then, right when telescopes leaned in for a better look, something even stranger happened to the data. Data around it didn't vanish. Ours did. Right as the pictures started to sharpen, the feed thinned. Not a hardware failure, not a burned-out sensor. Adjacent fields looked fine, but the slice of sky that mattered most turned to static. Engineers called it a calibration hiccup. Off the record, they called it a blackout. Moments before the drop, there was a flash, a pinprick of mirrored light, only milliseconds long, followed by a spike in infrared so tight it looked like an energy hiccup. Then nothing, as if a shutter had closed, as if something had turned its face and killed the glint. Elsewhere, the silence got louder. Public SETI updates paused. Social channels went quiet. A conference panel took a question about that new interstellar object and answered with 2 words: no comment. Officially, they were busy. Unofficially, processing power had been siphoned into projects behind encrypted doors. A private array in Australia whispered about an echo, a crisp return off the object's direction, there and gone. They tried to catch it again. It refused to repeat. Not faded, canceled. Like a mechanic who notices you watching and quietly puts the tools away. Across agencies, a phrase resurfaced from old playbooks: shadow protocol. The details are locked, the outline isn't. Restricted telescope windows, encrypted observatory links, contingency triggers tied to things no one wants to say out loud. An overt signal, a deep deceleration, any sign of deployment. This isn't how you plan a science press release. It's how you plan to keep a lid on the sky. Skeptics have a point. Sensitive instruments glitch, bureaucracies overreact. But taken together, the hush around one streak of light reads like a posture, not denial, readiness. Someone decided the next move belonged to them. And then, just when one anomaly felt like more than enough, a second traveler brushed the edge of the frame. One anomaly is odd. 2 is choreography. Trailing far behind the main body, a dimmer object appeared, smaller, quieter, but moving on the same road, a few bends back, as if tied to the same map. The nickname stuck fast: Echo 9, not official, not acknowledged, but in working models, there it was. A follower that occasionally slipped out of infrared entirely, then popped back up in a neighboring slice of sky. It didn't drift sloppy. It performed corrections that mirrored the lead: a fractional nudge, a micro-arc, a pause, then resume. It acted like a wingman shadowing cues, and every so often it blinked, not optically but thermally, dark enough that the background swallowed it, only to reappear where the numbers predicted it would, not lost, masked. Around the same time, the neighborhood started to misbehave. A small asteroid wandered near the corridor and left with a path that didn't fit simple gravity, not pulled, offset. A subtle kink, as if space itself had wrinkled for a heartbeat and then smoothed. Teams started using words they usually reserve for the edges of black holes: lensing, time delay, local ripple. No one likes that vocabulary anywhere near the inner system. The deceleration curve of the lead object added one more itch. It wasn't a smooth slope. It stepped. The intervals between steps matched a familiar ratio, an echo of the spiral we see in shells, storms, sunflower heads, and DNA. The golden cadence that appears when systems grow with efficiency. A coincidence? Maybe. A signature? Maybe that too. Either way, it's the kind of pattern you'd pick if you wanted to be recognized by minds that live in math. And if there are 2 travelers, there can be more. 2 points make a line. 3 make a formation. Networks don't announce themselves with a parade. They arrive as a test, a calibration, a grid. Maybe this isn't a visit. Maybe it's a deployment. Keep our eyes open. Keep our minds clear. And keep our nerve. Because some lights aren't stars. Some lights are eyes. And once an eye finds you, it rarely looks away.